All right, good win coming off, that big road win last week. We all are aware of the potential issues you're dealing with there, and I thought the team and the staff did a good job, really focusing in on this next opponent and the challenge that it could present. I thought Michigan State played really hard, and offensively they've got some weapons, and our offense was sharp. We were throwing the football. Fernando was on point. Protection was good. Receivers were separating, making plays. And, the defense held them to a field goal there at the end of the second quarter, drive before the 2-minute drive. Stopped them on the 2-minute drive. And then we punched that first drive in the third quarter, which I felt like if we did that, that would be a real blow to them. And defense really shut them out till the end, where, we kind of emptied the bench a little bit, so to speak. But it's a good win, and enjoy it. We're going to enjoy it and get ready for the next one.
Zach, on your left in this.
You talked about Fernando, and I know every quarterback will always have things to clean up, but I don't think he took a sack today. He's 24 of 28. Is that kind of, when you watched film of him, what you thought he'd be capable of once he cleaned up some of the things that you talked about in the offseason, the timing, the comfort, the trust and protection?
Well, I think it was a really good performance by him. Michigan State's given up some points this year, let's face it. And, he had time, and our guys were separating, and he was throwing the ball on rhythm. And, there's other games like Oregon, you don't have nearly as much time. And you're not always separating as much. So it's all relative sometimes. But I would say this is the sharpest, we've seen him up to this point, in a game. But he continues to improve. He continues to prepare like nobody I've ever been around. And he's getting better and better.
He's on your left and right.
In terms of Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt, from an offensive coach perspective, that defenses are going to try to game plan out them, focus on them. They've accounted for nearly 60% of your targets. The difficulty level for them as receivers to still get open, to still counter those game plans, how difficult it is what they're doing right now, being able to maintain.
Well, you can kind of like focus in on one guy, but it's hard to focus in on two. Because, if you're 3-by-1, that guy might be number 3, number 2, number 1 of the field or into the bench. And so you can focus in on one guy, but it's really difficult to focus in on two. But, there's other guys that make plays, like Riley Nowakowski. How many big plays has he made in the past game? And E.J. Williams, obviously, is a threat. And then, some of the Charlie Becker's made plays. Hemby's made some big plays in the past game. And then you got to deal with Fernando's feet, if he works up into the pocket. So you can't really focus on one guy.
Rabbi on your left and Matt Weaver.
Yeah, Coach, assuming I'm doing math here correctly, Mendoza, 21 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. When a guy's ratio is like that, the reason for it is what? And you look at, quarterbacks, you see that level of play, and you think what?
Well, I think he's doing a good job. He's smart. He understands how to play quarterback. Before you win any game, you got to make sure you don't lose it, right? And he protects the ball. He checks it down when it's not there. He knows when he can take a sack, when he can't take a sack, and he's accurate. And he's making good reads. So, that only puts him a little bit behind Cole Johnson, my second quarterback at JMU, who I think was 44-4 touchdowns, interceptions, which would be 22-2. You said 21-2?
21-2 right now.
Yeah. No, but he keeps building, I think, on his previous performances. And I can't say enough good things about him.
Matt on your right, Pete.
Coach, early on, their offense kind of had you guys a little bit on your heels. They were getting about the run of those screen plays, but got some yards, but you guys kept them off the scoreboard. What did you like about the adjustments your defense made as the game went along?
I thought near the end of the second quarter we really tightened up, and in the second half, except for that last drive, and started putting pressure on the quarterback. And I've always thought they got good design at Michigan State offensively. They can protect with 8, 7, 6, 5. out-of-pocket game, good screen game, great play-action game, and the quarterback is extremely talented, and so is number 6. And and I'm sure that the defense will put the tape on tomorrow, and they'll be displeased with some things early in the game.
Peter, on your right, and Seth.
Coach over here, just the way Lou Moore has continued to play right now, he's led you again in tackles, just the way he's played.
Yeah, played a lot of football, leading tackler, interceptions, left us, came back, right? And he's a veteran, got a nose for the ball, instinct, and I think he's having fun.
Seth on your left, and Daniel.
Curt, when you say Fernando prepares like no one you've been around, what does that look like? Like, what is he doing during the week that's so above and beyond in your eyes?
I think it's time, organization, and smart use of time, proper preparation, smart use of time, and he wants to be a great player. And I've never seen anybody really quite jump into it like that before.
Daniel in front, and Zach B.
On a mentality point, at what point in the week were you confident that you had your team in the right spot?
I think it was starting to flip a little bit after Thursday after practice. I sent him a good message. I thought it was flipping our way Friday. But you can't be a real nice guy when you have a job like mine. You know what I mean? Sometimes when they're going to be ready to play, and then sometimes the entire organization, right? What Mike Krzyzewski say when he retired? He said the toughest opponent he's ever faced was human nature. Well, human nature after winning against Oregon is to be happy and relax and right, support staff, coaches, players, right, trainers. So my job is to make sure they got the right mindset ready to play. And it's not always fun, but you got to do what you got to do.
Zach B in front will represent.
You've talked a lot about battling through adversity with the uniqueness of the slightly longer halftime and the weather. How do you think your team handled that and came out in the second half?
I thought we handled it really well. The staff had experience with it at Virginia when I was at JMU my last year. We were down 10 with 8 minutes to go, and that happened. We ended up utilizing it, I thought, really well, and came back and won the game.
Zach Westman.
I guess, Curt, you talked about the defense might see some things on film, especially early in the game they didn't love from this game, but I think it's 7 defensive touchdowns you've allowed in 8 games now. What is it about that group that whatever the challenge is, they just kind of outlast opponents? Obviously, sometimes you get a lot of sacks, sometimes like a day like today, maybe it takes a little longer to kind of figure it out, but what is it about that group that just they constantly solve that problem?
Well, I think, first of all, they're well coached, and they attack people. And we've got a lot of veteran players, and we've got great leadership, and we've got good players. And the leaders are really good players. And we've had young guys sort of develop for us, like up front and side. And look at Isaiah Jones' development at linebacker and Hardy, besides Fisher, right? And I think the secondary is really, outside of Pawns, who's an All-American. You've seen Sharp really step up and start to make plays in the safeties too. So there's a lot of pride there, and we got to get better from this last game, right? Because the challenges are going to get tougher down the road.